Hi there, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Do you have a homestead, farm, or just dream of a rural life? This is a show to help you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. I'm your host, Kody Hanner. I'm a homesteader, homeschool mom of six, and small town enthusiast. I was raised by an old school rancher and blessed by the grace of God to have been exposed to so much of what rural life has to offer. Join me every week to talk about homesteading, homeschooling, and growth with a homestead education. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Homestead Education Podcast. This is the first episode of season 6. I cannot believe we are on 6 seasons now, meaning that I have been doing this podcast since I think it's 2022. I should have looked that up. I know I'm coming up on a year mark. It must be 22 because I did it in like 6, or maybe it was 21. You guys gotta love me, right? Anyways, I am so excited that, we're still here after 6 seasons. When I originally started this podcast, it was because I had a podcaster that I loved, and I felt like I was finally, it was like, I don't know, getting to talk to my best friend every week, even though I had no clue who she was. She's a friend of mine now, but um, that just happens when you immerse yourself into the place that you want to be. But I um I needed like someone to talk to while I was learning about homesteading and homeschooling. And learning from the the whole different like aspect of homesteading versus the kind of agricultural background that I have. And it felt good to have that person every week. And I could go back and listen to her old episodes, and she had so much great information. And none of my friends were going through the same things that I was. I was definitely the only one going down this path. We had just moved to a new area. I had no one to talk to about what I was doing. And I felt like what she was providing me was exactly what I needed. And so from the time I first, I had never even listened to a podcast until I found this gal. And now that I have my own, that was the goal from right at that moment is there were so many times that I felt alone in what I was doing and the changes that my husband and I were making and just kind of going against the grain and against I don't want to say against society because a lot of people have been turning this way, but it's definitely different from where our society has been over the last 25 or 50 years. So, definitely pretty much everything I had known, m- you know, most of my childhood or my whole life. Um, and so when I was able to start this podcast, it felt like I had a channel to help someone else. And this has turned into such an amazing experience getting to travel the country and speak to you guys in person, having some of the most amazing guests on. And it all just comes back to a couple of really core purposes. And that is the first one was I really wanted to teach people the questions they didn't know to ask. Because I had been there in so many places of my life that when I felt like I had things to share and this, background in agriculture that I have in business and unique look at life, that there was somebody that needed to hear the things that I was willing and ready to teach. And that has helped me with like my whole mission statement for my business, which is helping you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. And 125 episodes, 6 seasons, almost 300,000 downloads, and 100 in-person speaking experiences. I feel like I have met my purpose. And I'm going to keep doing it. I'm not saying goodbye. I'm saying let's take this and roll with it because I've always felt like I was made for something more and I'm ready to stir some things up. Um, I don't want to say I've been quiet because if anyone's met me, I am not quiet. But I've been careful in the way I cultivated this community. And I still want to be that person for you, absolutely. But I'm seeing some opportunities to make some real change in how we educate our children, in how people view rural communities, and how we can reach a whole generation on being self-sufficient. And I think you guys are going to be in for a really cool ride this year. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I know I'm here for it, and I hope you are too. So let's jump right into just talking about kind of what's going to be happening this year, what I've been doing over the last 6 weeks while I took a little time off and just reset, and talk about what I want to provide to you guys. So right off the bat, I've really enjoyed my winter, just being winter. I mean, I did mention in my last podcast I was struggling with SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder. Um, which is basically just like the winter blues, but people are more acknowledging that there's something physiological with that. And I asked you guys for help, and help was received. There was a therapy light suggested and vitamin D, and I've really it's really been a good thing. So I've been using those. I got a really cool therapy light. I bought it for myself for my birthday. Um, and I'll link that in the show notes because it has made such a difference for me. And I've right now it's supposed to be -12 tonight here in North Idaho. This episode won't be coming out for a week, but I feel like I kind of wish like right now I had my camera set up differently and I had like a big armchair and I could like sit here with a cup of cocoa and talk to you guys or something because it just feels like I'm sitting down with my friends for a great chat, um and yes, my friends get my crazy rants too. So you guys are right there, front line for that one. One of the things though that we've been working on, my daughter and I have been putting together a cookbook. It's really been something that we've talked about for a long time. There's a lot to it. Just where our lives have been. I mean, a lot of what I do is the homeschool curriculum. And there's kind of there's that like there's more to us type piece. Um, I always felt really connected to home cooking, and when my grandma passed away, she was like the big cooker in our family. And that's the story I hear a lot. Um, but she had this like rusted metal recipe box and faded, stained recipe cards in her handwriting. And I wanted it so bad. And I was in my late teens when she passed away. And, my mom and my aunt were like, well, you're just a teenager. We're still the ones cooking. And I was like, you guys have your recipes. I am the one who's going into adulthood soon and need these. Um, I had to settle for getting her kitchen table, but which, took me all through my young adulthood and starting my family. And I only got rid of it maybe 10 years ago. Because there was no more legs left in it. Like I was having to like rebuild it all the time. But I had sat down. My mom ended up being the one who got the recipe box. That was also kind of the compromise, is that she was the only one who was still, had kids at home, and so she needed to have the recipe box. And so I sat down like 16-year-old me and hand wrote all of the recipes that I thought were important out of that box. Looking back on it, I really wish I had more, and I believe my mom still has it, but there's some challenges there in being able to get it. So I have like maybe four of her recipes that I thought were super important, which you were like meatloaf, zucchini bread, um, There's like a recipe for a frosting that I made out of Crisco that I really liked putting on graham crackers as a kid. Probably some throwback from the 40s when they thought you put Crisco in everything. And I made some notes on her spaghetti card because I didn't really like spaghetti, but I always knew I liked grandma's better. And I have kind of like that was the basis of my cooking as a young adult, as a young wife, were really just these pretty much four recipes. And like I have a wooden recipe box now, and you can flip through it, and the ones that say grandma's meatloaf on it or whatever, those were the ones that I sat there at the table and wrote, and they're in my 16-year-old left hand scrawl. Uh, but I won't get rid of them because that I was heartbroken over losing my grandmother and sat at the table and thought I was doing something really special writing these recipes down. And maybe one day I'll get them. Maybe one day my daughter will. But what her and I have built over the last several years in learning to do home cooking completely from scratch for, my husband's health, and then, us realizing that we needed to be doing that for all of our health, and then starting to grow our own food and living so far from town, we do make most of our foods. And her and I, we just started talking about it the other day. Like, we have a ton of recipes, and we really don't feel like there's anything we can't cook. And she's the same age now as I was when I lost my grandma. And I feel like she takes a lot of ownership in what happens in our kitchen. And so this is a really perfect time to basically like put together our family's recipe book that we don't have grandma's recipes. And that is the story I hear over and over and over again because nobody felt the need to keep these recipes, and they think, well, I'm not going to fry a chicken in lard, so I don't need that recipe. Well, and you may still not fry chicken in lard. I do, but you could have still kept the recipe for the seasoning mix and stuff. But I mean, it just a lot of people don't see the importance of these old-fashioned recipes that, there was that whole generation in the 50s where they thought that you made Jello out of Vienna sausages. I mean, we really need to skip that decade of cooking and kind of go back to like even the 30s and 40s. I mean, even the 40s kind of started getting a little different, but go back to some of that style of cooking and where you're really making it completely from scratch. You're making it from things that you've grown, and that has allowed us to really find a rhythm where we don't live in the kitchen. We live really full lives. We homeschool, we run businesses, we travel, we run our farm, and we eat probably 75% completely from scratch. My husband has a fully healed liver. Both of us, our cholesterol levels are down almost 200 points. I was digging through paperwork the other day to try to find that to give you guys exact numbers, but I can't find them right now. But I am going in for some blood work this week, so maybe I'll be able to share later. But, like to have liver numbers perfect, to have cholesterol back in line, and like I said, I'm eating fried chicken and lard. It's such a different way of eating. But what we want to do with this family cookbook is it's not just for our family. I want it to be available to you guys, where it has a full month's worth of meals, over 100 recipes in it, but not just the recipes. It's not just going to be open the book and how you make it. It's something that you can sit down and read and um, learn the things that I was still able to get from my grandmother, learn what I have been able to put into place from reading memoirs of homesteaders and all the way, back to, settling the United States and how people were cooking when they literally only like they were starting completely from scratch. And what we've learned on our homestead and how we are able to, like I said, do this without living in the kitchen. And so that is coming together beautifully. It is a beautiful book. that, I mean, it'll be off available digitally first, and then I'm going to get it in print because it's something you'll want to keep. It's something that you're going to want to have in your kitchen. And like I said, like sit down in a cozy chair and read and learn from it on how to make these recipes part of your whole life. And I'm really excited for it. It's going to be called Grandma's Old Recipes, The Rhythm of a Homestead Kitchen. And you basically just got the intro of it in talking about what my daughter and I decided that we want to put together for you. So keep an eye open for that if you want to join the wait list. It is, I'll link it in the show notes. You can get some freebies with it, so samples of the book to go ahead and try and see what it looks like. And I'm really excited to be able to have that out. I don't have an exact date yet. I'm putting, we have it all compiled and I'm making it beautiful right now. And I'm really excited to share such a intimate part of our life with you. Um, the next thing that, is on, well, I guess it's not even the next thing. It's something that I have been working on for 2 years. I keep promising you it's coming out, and that's Homestead history. It is coming. It really absolutely is. This book has so many layers, and this text has so many layers. And with each passing year, there's so much more information coming to light. And because it is so political, um, not that it is political in the current sense, um, food and agriculture, I mean, it has been part of forming every part of humanity and our society and our laws and pretty much everything about us. I mean, I can tell you pretty much how agriculture has formed every part. But with some of the big changes that have been happening, um, not only do I want to cover that in the book and some of these grassroots movements and some changes that have happened, but some things have come to light that make me reevaluate some of the things that I've already written and put together. And I want this to be, I don't want to say totally neutral because I think that there is going to be, I mean, it's coming from my writing, my reading, and the way that I interpret things. I will be putting truth into it completely because this is I want that, it's a homeschool curriculum where kids are going to be learning it, where adults are going to read it and take this information and want to have conversations in mixed companies. And that is my goal. But it's going to have the lens of somebody who has really been awoken to the system, but also has a deep love for agriculture. And you're going to get a little bit of a blend there. But I want to make sure that what the final product is and what you guys have um, awakens you and your family. And it's not well, I hope it's life changing, but that's not the goal. Like I'm not uncovering like the world's or US's secrets. Um, it's more just awareness. And I hope that that awareness is life changing for you. But it'll be out as soon as it's out. You're probably like, why are you making a cookbook when you could be writing the history book? But there's those pieces that sometimes I have to step away from it and come back, and I still am a creator, and that's what I do, and that's what I love, and that's what drives me. So, you're going to be seeing, hopefully, history comes out sooner than later. But you may see some things pop up before it. I'm really not going to start working heavily on other things until history's done. But some of the things you're going to be seeing coming up is re-embracing like old school vocational agriculture and home economics. The education that has been stripped from our public school systems and has that we've been indoctrinated into believing is not necessary for everybody to know because I mean food's at the grocery store. It's not something that you raise and grow. And I'm not saying everybody needs to start raising and growing their own food. I'm saying you just need to know where it comes from and respect that because you're going to waste a whole lot less. You're going to put cleaner things in your body and just be healthier and a better, well-rounded person overall if you can understand that and learn that. And I'm working with some agencies now to actually get that to more people. And I'm really excited for that, to more public schools, to more programs and organizations. And they're excited and I'm excited. And I think, like I said, you're going to see me stir some things up this year. So with that, I'm going to be offering some more mini courses like my survival basics, 15 lessons, wide age group, or, it'll specifically say this is for younger kids or older kids. I really feel with a lot of these topics, you can't really like pinpoint what a certain grade level is, especially because a lot of homeschooled kids are all over the spectrum on what they're learning. So, and their reading levels and math levels and that type of thing. So it's really based on maturity. Um, and maturity in math and that type of thing. And I just split it between like younger kids and older kids. And so yeah, I'm gonna have some really fun hands-on ones that'll come with kits like the Survival Basic does. There's gonna be others that are a little bit more bookwork, like ag accounting, which will be very much useful for, both as a business math for a high schooler or to learn how to do business accounting on your farm as a farmer. So I think there's going to be a lot of really cool things coming out like that this year. Well, I know there's going to be, just at what point in the year. And it's really hard as somebody who thrives off of this to not like run out and buy all the supplies and start doing them because I need to be getting homestead history done. Like that's just the bottom line. But I'm making some really big changes this year to ensure that I have the time for these projects. Like I've added um, more labor help in the business. I go back and forth between doing it all myself and having some help, but I've cultivated a really good team this year, and I'm excited to see where we go with it and what um how that opens me up for you guys and to be able to provide for you more. And I'm really excited for that. I've said excited a lot, but I mean, come on, it's season 6 and we're going into spring, which is seed starting time. Like, how are you guys not like excited too? I'm sure you are. You're excited. Okay, enough with the excited. Um, one of my friends who's been on the podcast a couple of times, Rachel Hester, we had her on talking about homestead dairy sheep, and then I had her on again talking about nutritional health. And she has started her own podcast, and I'm really excited for her. It is actually launching, let's see here. It's launching Thursday of this week, which would be, what's today? So I think it'll be the 13th. Um, so I don't have a link for it just yet. I will try to put that into the show notes by the time this comes out, but if it doesn't for some reason, you can always head over to Whoopsie Daisy Farm, WHOOPSYDAISY.com. I think that's um or search Rachel Hester. She has her Homestead Dairy Sheep book, and her podcast is going to be called The Woolly Way. Way is WHEY. How cute is that? I am looking forward to hearing what she's teaching, the guests she's going to have on, and I think it could be a really great one for you guys as well. So be sure and head over and give her a little support. She's been a great guest on my podcast. She's been really fun to listen to and learn from, and I hope that you guys can learn from her too. So, part of this stirring things up that I want to do, we have a new administration in, and I've been very careful to keep this a neutral environment. I mean, I don't think anybody questions where I stand on some things. But that hasn't been my whole goal because my goal is to educate a generation. And if I said that already, I'm sorry because I did a podcast right before this, and so now I can't remember what I said on which one. But I did an interview with somebody. But what our new administration is really seeing, I mean, there's a lot of things they're seeing, but let's stick to, what I'm talking about. And that's that we have moved away from, the educating of people on food and agriculture. rural education, that type of stuff. And, they haven't really come out and said that just yet, but we're seeing these grassroots movements of like getting the food dyes out of food and, um, both during COVID and during like some of the egg shortages over the last couple of years where people are embracing small scale farming and local food. And I think that this is just a really good opportunity to start stepping into other platforms like public schools that like I said, I'm already working with some people on what that could look like. I'm hoping, I have a lot of ideas, and I don't know if that's going to include reaching out for possibly some educational grants or if I'm going to grassroots it too. I'm not sure. It's going to come down to what I'm capable of. And even though I have a couple of assistants, it really just I'm one person and I'm a, we have an LLC, but this is our family's business. And when you start working with, educational programs, a lot of it, you have to keep your prices really low, because you're working on just educating um, students and providing that materials to the programs that are going out and doing that education. So I'm looking at what is the best option for that. If anybody, and I'm putting it out there, if anybody works with grants or educational stuff, or you just have thoughts on it, I would love to hear that because I also don't want to try to reach children through schools and using funding that's possibly out there if my follower base is really uncomfortable with that as well. And because I'm back and forth on it, part of what we think, as homeschoolers, we don't want them involved in our homeschools. We don't want them involved in our food. And I think, we're seeing a lot of budget cuts coming through. But there is money out there for rural education. There's money out there for regenerative farming and those types of things and the education of regenerative farming. So if the money is there and it's already been earmarked for it through the Farm Bill, and there's a lot of dumb stuff in the Farm Bill, why not have that be going to us that want to teach what our kids really need to be learning, what our society really needs to be learning? So, that's my moral dilemma that I'm having there. So if any of you have thoughts on that, pro, con, how to do it, why I shouldn't do it, please feel free and say something because this is a whole new arena for me and I would love to share that with you. And or at least just, make sure that I am not stepping outside the bounds of what we are building. We as in this movement, the homestead movement and stuff. With that, I'm not going to go too deep into the ag show that I went to last week because my episode next week is going to be really deep into that because there was some very eye-opening moments that I want to share with you, and it's going to take more than just my intro podcast and giving you 5 minutes to that conference because like I said, there's things to be said. With that, I was approached by the Farm Bureau, WSU, which is the Washington State Land Grant College Extension Office, the Grange, and multiple ag teachers that very explicitly said, this is the education that we want in our communities. This is the education that the parents in our communities are asking for, and the schools are asking us to bring in, and we don't have those resources. What can you help provide to us? And there are going to be conversations happening in the future. So I'm really excited. There's that word again. I am cautiously optimistic as to where this could possibly go. And I hope you are too. And if it doesn't go anywhere, my goal is still to keep teaching and spreading this information and being here for you, providing curriculum, those types of things. Because this is our grassroots movement. Um, Now, a little personal shameless plug here. I mean, I don't know. Is talking about my curriculum a shameless plug when you guys already know I do that. But I want to use this platform to bring more awareness to, food, farming, how that affects everyone while keeping my same wonderful content. So I've decided to open up a few more sponsorship spots, that helps me get the research materials I need, help with the administrative tasks, and doing my outreach to some small programs, and providing the educational materials for that. I have people reach out to me a lot and ask for me to come, speak to co-ops and charter schools and just really start spreading this awareness. And that's a lot of times just not something that I can afford to do because it would be a volunteer. And, I'm not trying to make money off of my podcast. I never really have. Um, Besides, the money that just, kind of comes with it from, people learning about me and stuff. But because I want to use this podcast to spread more awareness, I'm opening up some sponsorship spots to be able to do that some more. Um, with that, I decided, the amounts are very affordable because I want small businesses and um, nonprofits and whatever else is interested in getting their message out there or their products out there or whatever it is, um, to have that opportunity and not have it break their budget. So I'm going to link in the show notes. I think it's podcast, the homesteadeducation.com podcast/sponsorship. If that's something that you are interested in, if you're called to do that, or I mean, even just looking for a place to be able to advertise. Um, I printed out my numbers because I can never remember. I am a top 10 home and garden podcast globally, or a top 10% globally. I'm sorry. I am often in the top 10 of the home and garden charts, but overall, I'm a top 10 podcast globally. Um, each episode has over 2,000 downloads in the first week and then goes between 5 and 10,000 downloads um, through the life of the podcast. On Facebook, I have over 14,000 followers and reach over 1 million monthly. Instagram, 70,000 and 50,000 accounts monthly. My newsletter is going out to about 12,000. My website has over 20,000 sessions a month. Plus, this podcast is on 125 episodes, and I do about two um, large homestead, homeschool, or ag conferences a month. So I'm definitely getting out there and would have opportunities to support your product or your mission along with mine. So, like I said, if you want to head over and check that out, or if you need me to send you the information, you can reach out to us at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Um, so, I say kind of to wrap up, but I just want to talk about what the rest of the year is going to look like, what you should be planning when tuning in. I talked about, the products I'm going to be having coming out and a lot of the messages that I want to be bringing to you guys. I want to work more on kids understanding where their food comes from. And so some of that's going to be some outreach and some of that's going to be right here for you guys. And like I said, I'm not 100% sure how it's all going to look. The last 6 weeks have been very eye-opening for me, but it's also been a lot of thought. I have a lot of notes. I've reached out to a lot of people, and I'm kind of just seeing where that takes me. But you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it all here. Um, I have some amazing guests already lined up. I've already recorded some episodes. We're looking at what agriculture looks like in other countries, or like what homesteading looks like in other countries, because it was actually a homesteader. Um, I am looking for a couple of guests. I might find them before this comes out, but if not, I would really love to have um someone who does farm and ranch insurance, specifically with small farms like the homestead style, on selling cottage foods and raw milk. Somebody that can really speak to that on making sure that, as small farmers, we're protecting ourselves. I have really struggled finding insurance for myself and in helping, people who take my business courses or do business coaching with me on finding just the good answers there. Um, and I want to make sure everybody's protected the way they need to be protected, and there's not a lot of information out there. And when you do get a hold of a farm and ranch insurance person, a lot of times, as soon as you say that you're making funny money off your farm, you're no longer eligible for what they're offering. When the federal definition of a farm is, someone who intends to use their property to make at least $1,000 a year. So get with it, insurance agents and companies. And if somebody out there knows of a really great ag insurance agent, or if you're a really good ag insurance agent, reach out to me because I would love to, um, promote you if you're somebody who can really help the people who I have that I'm trying to help. So the next one would be, a CPA who is familiar with farming. That would be another great one to have on. I do have a couple of business degrees. One of them is in accounting. I do my own books. I'm pretty familiar with it, but even I come across questions and they're not easy to find the answers to. So that's something, like you can look at, farm accounting books, which don't make sense for the small farmer. And then, on the flip side, you kind of get more of the hobby farming side of it. And I need that in the middle. I need to know how to do that on QuickBooks. I need to know how to, properly allocate things. And so I have questions for myself, but that would give a really great opportunity to share with you guys as a following. So, like I said, if that's something you do, or if you know someone who does it, have them reach out to me, hello at thehomesteadeducation.com. Um, I have notes because I knew that this was just going to be like a sit down and chat with you episode. Another one, I'd like to just start answering more of your guys' questions right here on the podcast and on social media. Whether that be, the insurance one, I was struggling with it myself. I had people in my business courses and somebody who was just looking for insurance reach out to me and say, what do I do? I was able to give them some information and what they definitely needed coverage for. Um, at least so they had something to call around and ask for and know what they needed to ask for. But, that's when I wanted to do a whole episode on that. On the flip side, if you just have a real basic question, I would love to be able to just highlight it on the show, at the beginning of the episode, or, hop on social media and be able to show you in a video, and have that be available to everyone, so that everyone can get those really great answers. Um, So that's going to be at thehomesteadeducation.com/help me grow. And I'm there's going to be some more links there, but that's going to be one place that you can go and get that information or, ask the information. Um, Also, if you go to thehomesteadeducation.com/events, you will be able to find all the places that I will be speaking this year. But I have a little bit of a cool thing with that. On almost half of them, my husband will be speaking with me. You guys were able to catch him on the podcast when we did our episode on good food and stubborn wives. He has spoke on stage with me a few times before, but this is the first time we're doing it in official capacity. And there's two different topics we're going to be speaking on together. And one of them is homeschooling on the homestead. And he's going to give a dad's perspective on that and a perspective of somebody that, he says he's a disgruntled vet. And I'm sure you all, there's plenty of you out there that have those husbands, or maybe you are that husband. And he gives a really good perspective on that. Um, Another topic is our good food and stubborn wives, where we want to help you guys change your nutrition, change what you're growing for yourselves. And we know it's hard, getting our husbands on board, or, maybe you are that husband that's like, I'll do it because I have to. But again, we have a really unique perspective on, we thought that he was terminal and that this was the end of the line for us. And we're here 9 years later and can help you. So be sure and check out anywhere we're speaking on that, because we would love to see you and chat with you and maybe help wherever you are. Um, I did an episode right at the beginning of the new year. I think it was the last or second to last episode of last season, where I talked about goal setting. And I don't care that it's the middle of February right now. If you have goals, you need to be setting them. And you need to be, if you aren't speaking them, they aren't going to happen. You need to get them on paper. You need to tell the people in your life and then hold yourself accountable. Um, don't upset yourself. Don't push yourself beyond what you can do, but chase those goals now. Even if you're like, that's years down the road. Well, when that day comes, you'll be ready. If you're looking at starting a homestead business, or if you're wanting to get started homeschooling or managing your household stuff or anything along those lines, I offer both business and life coaching. You can find that on my website. I'll link it in the show notes as well. I do a 1 hour introductory call that I think it's $97. And that comes with like a business plan or a family plan and follow-ups. Um, and a lot of times you can watch my sales. If I'm doing a digital sale, I go ahead and throw that in, and sometimes you can catch it for a lot cheaper. And we just hop on a Zoom call and work through whatever it is you're working on in your business or life. And then I will follow up with a real good plan for you. So be sure and hop over and check that out. I'm so excited for where we're all going this year, and I just want to remind you to keep growing. Thank you for joining me today at the Homestead Education, and I hope that I have given you something to think about this week. To help others find me, please comment and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. You can also follow me on Facebook at the Homestead Education and Instagram at homestead_education. Do you have questions that you would like answered or just want to say hi? Please email me at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Until next time, keep growing!